Your broken smile made it to the sun.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you one last time to the windy, wild and wonderful world of Siege of Limerick X 2.0. I will be your narrator, Lorca Murray, and I am joined by the colourful, classy Liam Grant. How are you feeling this afternoon, Liam?
I'm feeling great, Lorca, and excited about this game. Ranelagh can smell blood here. Irish champions Pelt fell very early on in this tournament. Ranelagh looked to stomp their authority as the best team in Ireland, but it's the British who stand between them and a gold medal.
So frequently, the British standing in between the Irish and potential greatness as Rogers starts things off. Hits Dara Kelleher. This promises to be a titanic battle. Dara Kelleher wasting no time, sending a big one deep. Lots of air, lots of wind, and lots of running for Devi, but to no avail.
Yeah, that one just catching the wind. Looked like a good throw from Dara. Definitely the right technique you want. That backhand kind of going into wind, but then you're just hopeful from there that the wind doesn't take it too awry. But yeah, that one catching the wind, and a good start for Ranelagh. Two players there, Freddie Rogers, Dara Kelleher, have really stepped up their game the last few years, and with the kind of turnover the older players from Ranelagh, they really stepped up to be the primary handlers and cutters.
This is the second generation of Ranelagh. It's an impressive one. It'll need to be to stop GB. Look at that for a throw. Brilliant towing of the line. There's a call for out. Excellent effort by Jonah Varney, coming at you from Surrey University. A lot of different areas represented on this GB under-24 squad. There's a bit of discussion about whether or not he was in. We saw him try to tow the line. I feel like maybe he fell to his knees beforehand, Liam.
Initially, when I saw him going for it, I said, well, there's no point going for this, but actually, I think he might have done it.
Perhaps that camera angle doesn't do too much to reveal it. As now we're going to watch. In. Oh, that's tight. Maybe those knees were in. I think that has to go back. It's difficult to tell. It was directly in front of our cameraman.
Yeah, Sam Ian there probably had the best view calling it out, but
he's retracted it now. So Varney, they have a cutter isolated ahead of him. Tags it in. Wearing the Warwick Bears jersey. Can't get it off to the isolation. Instead just goes to the dump. Beautiful cut down the line. Sam puts a lot of effort into blocking it. They're able to reset. And a low flick break. Brilliantly done and comfortably collected. GB open it up with a break.
Yeah, great start from them, and they showed us the throws of breaking the mark, throwing that backhand hook down the break side. Very little the Ranelagh players could do, and yeah, they stamped their authority in this game. First break.
High octane and full of energy. You can see what it means to the GB boys. They want to bring home this title. Continuing the trend of GB under-24 men's teams coming here and kicking ass. So Ranelagh, a little bit shook.
Yeah, a little bit shook. They started off, first few passes looked like they had the structure, everyone knew what they were doing, but lacked maybe intensity on defense. And that's something Sam Ian has got to show this year. He got essentially cut from the Irish men's team this year, didn't even make the tryout squad. And I think the reason was his defense, and he's been the primary handler for Ireland for many years.
Showing you just how deep the Irish pools have become when somebody who is such a hallmark of national sides for so long as well. Played on a lot of iterations of Irish squads, mixed, open, beach, grass, and not even making the tryout one this year. But that's the kind of fire that can fuel you. Jamie Chambers the year he got the MVP on this pitch in the Irish national final was fueled by that. As you see Ferdy Rogers readjusting his body and collecting the disc, going for a huge put himself. He's got Luke Doyle underneath it, chasing it down. Magnificence.
Freddie Rogers gonna have to shower twice after this game because that was filth, Lorcan.
He is a dirty, dirty man. But that was a clean look and well executed. Luke Doyle so quick chasing it down, coming originally from Cork. Ferdy Rogers, for me, is one of the most improved players over, say, the last year or two. He's established himself almost as kind of like a Sam Meehan who can play defense.
Yeah, it's not mean when he's left-handed. Yeah, and as I said, the defense. That one, amazing throw. Luke Doyle, very difficult man to overthrow. You see that pace.
He could have kept going, and he's more than willing to get up high or throw his body on the line. So Ranelagh respond efficiently and powerfully. Also, this looks like it's going to be a fun game. 1-1. The final game of Siege of Limerick. GB under 24s taking on Ranelagh. And the rain just coming back, as is tradition. Dara Kelleher with the disc in hand, getting ready to set it up. GB under 24 playing with established O&D lines for the most part. Ranelagh less so, kind of swapping players in and out. That's a big pull, using the wind to full effect, giving his team time to get down there.
There was a nutmeg right there.
Close to a drop pull. And instead it's just a quick drop pass.
That is the closest thing to a drop pull without being a drop pull.
Agbaje coming up quickly, putting on that pressure. So now we'll see Ranelagh go to work. Can they get that break back? And there's another drop, unfortunate for them. Cormac Burke.
You can actually see the hill coming before I could feel it, and here it is.
You can see it across in the distance in the trees. That is actually right in our eyes. The accuracy of the hail, something for the Ultimate players to try and copy themselves. It's an absolute storm down there.
I'm pretty sure this is now the movie The Day After Tomorrow. It's coming for us, Larkin.
Being chased down a library hallway by ice. For my money, the second stupidest chase I've ever seen. The first one being in The Happening, where they're chased through a field by the wind. But the wind is doing an awful lot of tyrannical things right now, really influencing this game.
Where's Toby Maguire when you need him?
And that one just bouncing out of the hands. Teams struggling to get used to the conditions. And this really does serve Ranelagh a little bit better. The great equalizer, the elements, coming on their break throw, or their break opportunities.
The only thing more difficult than this is actually watching the movie The Day After Tomorrow.
So now Owen Binchy going to that sideline, hoping to find a way. Gets it close to the end zone, but unfortunately not able to complete the move. So now GB will start again. I believe that's Chung Lee in the corner. Being marked by Liam Fletcher, trying to get low. Chung Lee just goes for the big rip. Gets it a bit of distance. Owen Binchy wants to get the thing moving quickly, motioning to some of his cutters, trying to get Cormac Burke even to be a bit more active. And there's a flick. It had the right edge, but even in that wind, that is a difficult throw to pull off.
I was Dara Kelleher with the flick. 2 hawks, 2 turns from him, but to be honest, it was the right option. Keep him pinned here in Coffin Corner.
So Chung Lee, it's an unenviable task, as once again he just goes for the big ripping backhand, going up and down in the air. Some good work by Pierce, knowing where it is. Pierce is another player who I think has really come along quite a lot in the last few years, going from auxiliary player learning the trade to now really being an important member of that D-line for Ranelagh. Very athletic, always willing to put himself on the line, but getting more and more consistent on the offensive end as well. So now we see Dara Kelleher, UL alum, looking for options. Owen Binchy's trying to get free, runs out of them and is forced to just get rid of it. And one hopes we may have survived that particular storm. Chung Lee just loading it up and going for another big backhand shot. That one comes off. That's a little unforgivable. That's Adam Vaslet from Birmingham. Not to be confused with Finn Campbell from Birmingham, also wearing number 12. Same university, know each other quite well. Campbell gets it.
The Birmingham 12 as they're formerly known.
All two of them. Gets down the line to Aster Stewart. But it's going to have to go back to Campbell. This is dangerous. Ranelagh had a good few opportunities to pop that in. Campbell trying to work his team down towards the end zone. Sets it up, Fletcher cuts in to get the Dion Chung. Big bid out of Vaslet. Now Owen Binchy lasers that one, almost works out. Huge effort from Pearce, but just hits the ground in front of him. And you know Lee's going to go for another backhand. You'd really think people would start just laying out to block that one, make him throw a flick if he can. Lovely leading pass, that was absolutely beautiful. But what a block! Conley Agbaje says no.
Yeah, that one a little telegraphed, and Conley able to step across and make the play. Ranelagh were outside the other end zone moments ago. Under 24 is doing really well to get out of that corner.
Chung Lee doing the same thing 4 times in a row. It worked twice. Owen Binchy tries to get that to Conley, but unfortunately he can't. Good step in D. Heads up play by the under 24s. Good little bit of scramble defense. Campbell has it. Or sorry, Vaslet tries to squeeze it in to Aster Stewart, but it just bounces out of his hands. Owen Binchy does not like to waste time. Quickly to Derek Kelleher. Derek Kelleher with a massive flick, sending it all the way down the pitch. Liam's underneath it, collects it. Looking to the end zone, he has an isolation and a bit of separation, but doesn't trust his own throws, gets with the easier option. Derek Kelleher just goes for another flick hook to Liam. But that one almost works out, just bouncing out of his hands.
Kelleher putting the team in his back there. Nobody else wanted to take the role of hooker in this wind, and you can see he's got a lot of spin on his flick hooks.
Derek Kelleher learned how to put the team on his back from his time in UL.
I believe Dara played back in the day of
the dark ages, many years ago. Conversation about whether this disc will go back. I'm not entirely sure why. So, Chung Lee once again has to go into that coffin corner. He's left-handed, he's got a huge backhand. That's why they keep putting him there. If I'm Pearce, I'm bidding with everything I have on this backhand. Just a layout.
Change the force for him in particular, you know?
Trap him on the sideline. There it is again. Seemed like maybe it got a bit of contact. Up for the grab, but it bounces out of the hand of the receiver. Binchy collects, puts it into the middle. Meehan, that's another man who isn't afraid to throw it in this wind, but it just arcs and blades. It is really becoming quite furious out there right now. So now we see a man who has a number on his jersey but didn't give it to us. So I'm sorry, we don't know your name, but has been very impressive for GB so far, and that's a huge flick. Lasering it, sending it all the way down the pitch. Liam Fletcher just able to stamp it out. But you like that play?
I can't believe how easily the under 24s are getting these hooks off, you know what I mean? They've been doing the same thing the whole time. Ranelagh doing well to scramble defense and actually get bodies underneath it, but I think they need to put more pressure on those hooks into the wind, you know? Because that's what you want to do when you're hooking this kind of crosswind, is actually throw into it, let the wind carry it. So I'd like to see them maybe force the other sideline.
Sam Meehan to Derek Kelleher. He has some options going deep, decides to take them just to clear his own lines. Does so fairly effectively. See Alan Pearce matching up with Eddie Mason, also of Birmingham. Probably getting a good bit of representation on this GB side. They have 4 players.
I think Derek Kelleher has thrown the most turnovers on the field, but probably has been Ranelagh's best player as well. Not often you can say that.
And be right. I know a few players who would say that about themselves quite a lot.
One springs to mind.
1-1. The score is still 1-1. As we see, lots of spin, but it bounces up. Bit of difficulty. Good pressure from Ranelagh. Really struggling with these conditions, both sides. Sam Meehan has a lot of options, but not a lot of space to throw to. And then that one just bounced out of the hands of Owen Binchy, and not wasting any time. GB just send it all the way down. And that's going to roll out the back, so it won't be quite in the corner, but will be difficult to field.
Going tit for tat here, but nobody able to bang it into the end zone. Sam will be disappointed himself. Had 1 yard to go and couldn't get anyone free.
In fairness to Sam, shambolic is how I would have described their form. It just seemed like every Ranelagh player is kind of standing in their own place, allowing GB to effectively play a zone while still being in a man position, clogging up all that space.
I think that's the end zone offense they've been training for quite some time now. Scampering around.
Now there's a very brief, well, presumably brief break in the wind conditions. This would be the situation to really go for it. Derek Kelleher gets the under. Big step across. Eddie Mason read that play and comes in. Bit of contact. But you can see the intelligence of these GB players recognizing the Ranelagh isolation setup for their cutting. Dara seems to be calling a foul on this.
I don't know if it was a foul, but maybe a dangerous play. You can see Keller, you can see the G player come flying across, and yeah, that's a collision you want to avoid.
That's one of those perpendicular movements when a defender reads the play, but it's so risky as they arrive at this disc basically at the same time. Just a bit more discussion. Excuse me. That is the sound of a man who has been getting through today thanks to Red Bull, one of our sponsors. We're going to give them a big shout out. Also, Ishka, water hydrating us all day long. And Fulfilled Nutrition, the best protein bars on the market.
What have you drank more of this weekend, Red Bull or Ishka, Lorcan?
Definitely Red Bull.
I had a bath in it earlier this morning.
Yeah, whatever you can do to get yourself some energy after the party, you know? As that one goes to Binchy. Good little bit of work from Cormac Burke. Fantastic mid player. Binchy just putting that one slightly too low. GB looking to strike back quickly. Gets it down the line to Mason. Mason looking for options. One arrives in the form of Campbell. Or sorry, Vaslett. Just kind of sneakily running over. Cormac Burke trying to set up a bit of a deep cut for himself. And then Fletcher making himself available right in the middle of the pitch. Pierce goes, there's space. Fletcher decides against it. He does have Derek Kelleher. Normally he would be able to give that straight away, but the windy conditions resist him from going those famous Fletcher scoop passes.
Yeah, in these conditions, sometimes you got to forget about the reset and just jack it upfield, in my opinion.
So now Owen Binchy certainly thinking about it. Instead goes for the outside in break. A nice little flick move. Pierce with the disc in hand gets the dump to Meehan. It's one of the players they'd want to have it. Centered to Binchy. Has a chance to push it in for the break and the lead. Low to the ground, but scooped up by Burke. Good balance. Presence of mind. Nice dump cut to the break side. The pit cut works and Fletcher gets the score.
I'm pretty sure that point was about 40 minutes long. Whatever your clock is saying, that was a marathon point, but we actually got to see some ultimate there in the last few minutes.
The wind died down momentarily and allowed us to enjoy the sport we love so much. My beard also grew fairly significantly during that time. As we see here, I love this cut. Owen Binchy runs behind the handler to the break side and is able to just get that nice, sweet throw off to Liam Fletcher.
Yeah, I think they call that the Plinko cut, where you pop it and carry your momentum on the break side and get that quick break throw off. Very difficult to stop.
Very well executed.
I've often seen the person on the disc actually drop off and then switch and put on the force. That's one way to try and stop that quick break.
That requires a certain level of team cohesion that GB are really trying to build at this tournament. They come to Siege so their players can start to get to know each other. will be interesting. I know they, as they always do, being British, are going to Heidelberg with high ambitions.
I think there's some scalps there for the taking. I think the US under-24 team is probably the weakest it's been in quite some time.
Big words from Liam
That's a
Grant.
spicy thing to say. I feel like the Italians might be the favourites. Am I crazy saying that?
I feel like that's a curse. Every time that's happened, because the Italians went over to with Juk last year and really thought they were going to do quite well. Gold medal was from Europe, really proving themselves. Kind of capitulated a little bit. The Italians are very good, and they will be hungry after what they were able to get done in Australia.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same team, or at least a lot of the top players. Gasparini, Tognetti, GB team hoping to rise to those greats.
Well, they have had a couple of brilliant battles. Huge throw out of the hands of Mason, going all the way down the field. Brilliant collection, and that's a score, a quick response. Okay, so it looks like we might have a game after all. The wind relenting slightly, the sun coming out. We can have another look at that brilliant shot to the end zone. Well, there's a bit of conversation happening. Mason gets it, middle of the pitch, loads up, and fires. Pinpoint accuracy in less than favourable conditions. The call seems to be that he was out into Kelleher on defense. And there's the timeout. Smart decision by GB.
Looking to have no turns at this point. I thought that one was caught in the end zone. Not really a proper line, so difficult for anyone to tell, but they get a chance to practice their end zone offense here.
How do you feel about timeouts in this situation?
I really dislike it. In my opinion, when you get a huck like that, you want one person to follow up, just ISO one person to get it in. In my opinion, so often we see this. Gives the defense too much time to settle, to prepare themselves. I think it's much harder to do. Generally against timeouts during play, unless people are really tired, for the most part. I like timeouts in between points. I do like them on stall eights though. There's a man, Greg Cohen, who's the king of stall 8 timeouts. I've seen him do it several times, and every time he does it, he gets the reset off.
Well, there you go. Give him a bit of presence of mind to think about it. Sorry, we're just having a little bit of discussion here in the booth during the timeout. GB already set up. I have to agree with you on that call. I know Bad Skig called them time overs or turnouts, depending on your partners, just because how many times do we see the offense kind of spook themselves? On those big hooks, just have a few of your players stay back. Have one or two filter through for the ISO, and then the defense will have to come back, so it's a free and easy dump generally. I think people just get too excited.
But I think GB are doing this to practice their end zone offense, if anything. You know, it's a great opportunity for them to actually set themselves and try a tactic.
So it's an isolation on the front of the stack. Brilliant work. Nice just distraction and then getting the second look.
Ranelagh got caught rotten there. You see they came out with a clam defense, not honestly marking. Person in the front of that little zone follows the ISO, clears out, and then just leaves an empty hole down the middle just to hit it straight in. Someone else needed to react to that. Cover that middle of space.
So GB, clinical, exactly what the coaches would have wanted to see. Putting it away. So have another look here, as Liam pointed out.
Yeah, you see that ISO clearing out, and then leaves a hole in the middle to hit it straight down into the stack. Didn't even have to move. So yeah, they made us look stupid, Lorcan. They got it in straight away.
Well, there you go. It's not like the Irish have ever been fooled by the Brits before. Ross Nugent, number 27, only after able to get his name there. I've been very impressed with him. Right now, he's probably the most impressive player I've seen on this GB side. And of course, we didn't have his name until this moment in the game. Anyone else really stood out to you?
This is a team of faceless warriors to me, you know. Top to bottom, they're just going out there grinding. Yeah, Chung Lee's been sensational as well. Again, those hooks.
There's a huge hook out of Dara. We're talking about how many turnovers he has and how that's crucial to what Ranelagh have been able to do. Pinning GB back in that corner. Again, that one hung up in the air a bit too much. So, Ross Nugent picking it up. He's going to be stuck in that unenviable position of coffin corner. Killian Flynn trying to trap him. Big active mark, not letting the huck off. Going for a dump, stall count getting higher. It's going to be a foul called on that.
Yeah, up until that moment is the best mark I've seen with someone in this corner. Just using your body now, you end up fouling him, which is unfortunate, but for the first 5-6 seconds, he just stopped him stepping out for the huck. Don't let him carry momentum into that. Use your body, just a shield position. Unfortunately, got a little too aggressive there, but
it's a difficult thing with the rules being so open to interpretation. If the defender's moving, it's a foul. Seems to be what he's saying, that Nugent stepped forward and tripped himself over Killian's outstretched leg. So we're going to have a look at it here. So is that a foul?
to me that's a foul. I know the two players are kind of moving the same space at the time, but in the game of Ultimate it always favours the offense, and in that situation it actually is a foul. You know, Flynn is anticipating his movement, stepping into that space, so I think it is a foul. And that will happen. I don't think it was malice or anything like that. Oh, and
brilliant drop shoulder throw, but on the other end, Ferdio Rogers, head up defensive play.
he did incredibly well to get that throw out of there.
Now Feely faking, trying to lead that offense. Kelleher going with another shot to the end zone. Flynn's on the end of it, but it looks like it's going to go out of bounds. Geller just overshooting a few times. Now I would like to see him kind of dial it back. The wind isn't as strong. People are starting to flow a little bit more. You're going to have to give you guys a chance to play.
I think you can throw those lower. I know they're being ballooned up into the air by the wind, but he actually is releasing them quite high. You saw Healy there kind of almost air bouncing one low to the ground. You can throw a chuck here, a huck here at chest height. It's maybe the way to try and do it.
So Nugent having a bit of a battle with Flynn on this point so far. Big huck, you like the ambition, but that's going to go out early. Nathan Sanders trying to take it on. And this is a gun-slinging GB team. I don't know if it's the tournament, if it's the weather, or if it's just their inclination, but I like it. Rogers going to take it up on the sideline. Very collected player. Very steady throws. One of the men I would trust out here in these high winds, especially over 10 to 15 yards. Derek Keller trying to win that race to the front. That throw just came off a little bit. There seems to be conversation happening in a different part of the pitch.
Yeah, they might get out of jail free here, that one, Ranelagh.
It was a great cut by Dara Kelleher.
Yeah. Ferdio Rogers played fantastic in the All-Ireland final, I think 2 years ago, where it was windy like this here in Limerick. It was actually an LIT.
Marshalled their troops, yeah. Ranelagh ran out clear winners in that instance.
It was 15-5 the final score.
Rogers having a few options. Flynn giving him the final one. Bit of bouncing in front of the handlers. It's getting tough, and Flynn's forced to go for a difficult inside break. A nice D at the end of the play. I believe that was Sanders getting up and just slapping it away. It was, and now he's going for a backhand huck with his left. Is he ambidextrous? I think he went for a hook with his right previously. A whole new level of lefty backhands being introduced now. Rogers all the way back in his own end zone line. Taking advantage of the poach. Reading Sanders' intention and getting it to Feely in the middle of the pitch. Rogers again. Conditions have died down. Binchy gets free up the line, thinks about a flick hook himself. GB really sticking close to their men. It's tight. Dara Kelleher. He sent a lot of deep ones, has the inclination to send another one. But that goes all the way out. You can see Fletcher, as soon as he sees Kelleher get it, go deep. They seem to be being pushed out right now.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed his last few hooks. They haven't been catchable, haven't even landed in bounds. You want to give your receiver some chance.
So Nugent on the sideline, going to work against Flynn. Excellent catch on the Faceless Warrior GB cutter. Sanders has Nugent up the line, instead goes for the break around, but a bit too into the wind. Liam Fletcher gets up high and takes it down. Gives it to Colin Feely, the Cork native. Matthew Feely, I keep doing that. Rogers. Nice little break, bit too high, but on the second time of asking, they're able to get it in. Murphy to Feely, and Feely puts that one towards the end zone. Playable. Flynn walks it down and catches it. And those were the kind of throws you were saying they could be going for.
Yeah, you just need to put it in the end zone. Make it a 50-50 throw, and that is absolutely fine. But I believe that was Feely who did that around backhand, almost air bounce. Puts a lot of spin on it, and kind of cuts into the wind a bit better. Doesn't go too high.
So you can see here the foul one more time. That was a fantastic grab. It led to a turnover, and that is the air bounce that you were talking about. Just sailing over the GB defenders. Flynn reading it very well.
Again, we have a crosswind here coming from far side to near side, and you see Feely there, just threw it into the wind, trying pushing it towards that far side. No, it was going to come back and land inbounds, and made for an easy catch for Killian Flynn in the end. And that's what I want to do, give him a chance. Just give your receivers a chance to get the goal in this kind of wind.
So Ranelagh keeping their noses out in front. Gave up a break to start the game. Got it back quickly to make it 2-1 now, 3-2. And the team's just trading shots right now.
A few of these GB players are going to have to run straight after this final. They're flying back to London from the greatest airport in the world.
Belfast?
Not quite, but Shannon Airport, the best airport in the world. Where duty-free was invented, the first ever duty-free, Shannon Airport.
It was, and that duty-free still operational. The second oldest business in Ireland, of course after Rourke's rock selling, which has been going on since 500 BC, the finest rocks. Not one of our sponsors, but I'm a big fan of their work. As GB, Nugent, who seems very important to this British side already. Mason with a huge backhand, he had a fantastic one in the opening few points. Hanging it up there, but Ranelagh doing some great body positioning defense.
Yeah, that was a great throw. I think he'd be disappointed that nobody was there to reel it in or really compete for it.
It's everything you kind of want. Going towards the end zone, plenty of float, time to read it. But Ranelagh just out-muscling the GB cutters. Seeming to want it more. So now Sam Meehan being marked up by Mason. I'll think about sending one in the opposite direction, perhaps. So you see the cuts appearing. Murphy, a lovely cut to get free. Big bid from Nugent, comes up empty, and Murphy unleashes a shot to the end zone. He's got Burke chasing it down. These are Trinity to Trinity for the score. Fantastic body position and the clap catch.
They don't call him box out Berkey for nothing. That was fantastic. Held his position so well. Never committed too early, kept his balance, and ended up being an easy catch.
I mean, he's on the live stream. It is the final. There are literally dozens of people watching, and he thinks, no, I'm not going to do any of this flashy stuff. Fundamentals. Box out Berkey. Excellent. 4-2. Critical.
Yeah, too often in this tournament we've seen people commit early to the jump, go up too early, and then they're off balance and they can't catch it on the second attempt. Just keep your feet, keep a good position. A lot of the time it's going to bounce in the air.
Yeah, it's just some old school wrestling.
Yeah, that's box out of the day right there.
Box out of the day. The award given to Cormac Burke. And again, that's another example of Ranelagh's second generation of players. Really coming up, taking over the club, breathing new life into it. First tournament Ranelagh ever played in was Siege of Limerick. I believe the year was 2011. First game Ranelagh ever lost was to UCC. Fun game. And that is a brilliant pull. Rolls just out the back of the end zone, which will allow Mason to take it up to his end zone line, but Ranelagh have set up their defense. We know this man can chuck it. So we'll wait to see what they do.
Lorcan, do you think any of the players here were playing in that game against UCC back then? Or is this all the fresh blood?
That's an excellent point. I think for the most part it's fresh blood. A lot of these players would have been in university. Some of them in secondary school at the time.
I'm trying to think, maybe Sam?
Sam was on Trinity, because I was on the UCC team. We also played Trinity and lost to them. But yeah, you're actually right from the first iteration, and that is the sign of a club over a team. Teams come together, fall apart, and it's kind of the history of teams in Ireland. That's a big shot, comfortably taken in by Deavy. But Ranelagh really establishing themselves as a club, generational. That sense of continuity, but also of fresh, new faces. Badge trying to get it to Rogers. He has a few people in front of him. Luke Doyle clearing out, gets it to Owen Binchy instead. Binchy looking for options. Ranelagh getting more and more comfortable as this game goes on. Ferdia Rogers, a beautiful break across to him from Binchy. Keeps it going to Deavy. And then Deavy throws it around despite the bidding body of the Brit. He gets nothing. Great stuff from Ranelagh.
Yeah, Ranelagh taking a bit of a lead now, putting a lot of pressure on this British team. That was some fantastic offense. A couple of times we've seen them, once they get to halfway, actually slow themselves down and start playing proper ultimate, not just huck and hope. And they've done it incredibly well.
They've looked very good, going from strength to strength. And that was a flawless possession once they got the turn. So 5-2. And this is the kind of situation GB haven't really found themselves in this tournament. Not that it's been particularly easy for them to make it to the final, but they'll certainly want to be able to show up now. I believe they lost to Alba on Saturday, but apart from that, won their other two games, which included beating Ranelagh 8-2 in the opening group game. So Ranelagh looking for a bit of vengeance, currently enjoying a 5-2 lead.
Sometimes it's hard to beat a team twice, you know.
People say that, and I've always thought it's the stupidest thing. How is that a fact? That's just something people say, and then they hear someone else say it, and then they keep saying. No, that can't. How is it difficult to beat a team you've already beaten?
I think you get overconfident maybe, or you're kind of showing your hand at that stage. I kind of completely agree with you, Larkin.
It makes no sense. You've already proven you can do it. But maybe GB did come in a little bit overconfident. I know one of the big things was Ranelagh were determined not to let this happen again. They were very frustrated with their performance. Felt like nobody really showed up for it. A lot of drops, a lot of mistakes. So coming into this one, they're much sharper. Enjoyed themselves a comfortable win in the semi-final.
I tell you, didn't show up. Sam Meehan, he wasn't here at that game. He arrived late yesterday, so.
He's on playing a lot of D-line for Ranelagh, which is interesting to see. As now you see Cam Samuel gets it back into the middle to Chung Lee. Let's see what he can do apart from sending massive backhand hooks into the wind. Mason. Cross to Phillips. Back into, oh, what a layout. Great, almost lackadaisical, but he was lying in wait like a snake. Jumps out and gets the big block.
Yeah, Dave Ferguson setting the trap there.
And then Meehan to Murphy. Ranelagh really starting to feel it.
They've opened up a 4-point lead. I am surprised, Lorcan. I thought this game was going to be really close, and maybe it will be, but I did not expect anyone to have a 4-point lead this early in the game. Ferguson there, yeah, completely set that trap. Almost hid behind the player so the thrower couldn't see him.
He actually did something very similar to Pelt once on the Universe point that cost us our first chance at an All-Ireland final. Crafty player, one of the veterans. And there's Sam Meehan just threading the needle, doing what he does best.
Dave Ferguson, a Ranelagh 2-man at heart, let it be said.
Has to be said. Meehan picks it up, slots it through to Sam Murphy, another very impressive player developing through Ranelagh. You saw him get that great shot to the end zone earlier on that allowed Burke to chase down. We talked a lot about Burke's box out, but that was still fantastic throw to the back corner of the end zone.
I think we're seeing Sam on these D-lines probably for his pulls.
Oh, that makes sense. And they have been quite good.
And this should be a game that Sam excels in. With this kind of wind, throwing becomes a big part of the game, much more so than athleticism. So that's when you want him on your roster.
So here come GB, mixing things up just a little bit. Sanders, we've seen him launch some. We've seen most of the British players launch some. They're handlers anyway. Back to Sanders in the middle. Says no to a few cuts, gets to Phillips. Tries to go down the line, but that's some good tight marking by Ranelagh, putting them under pressure, forced to launch one up. Lots of bodies underneath it. And Enda Kelleher gets up big to take it down. Gives it to Binchy, thinks about the huck, sends it, hangs it in the wind. Now it's just who can read it better. And holding his ground and getting the D, Adam Vaslett.
I love how Enda Kelleher is actually wearing a raincoat. Not just a jacket, but like, that is a big raincoat.
That's what he does. Enda Kelleher's got a style and he doesn't care what you think about it. That one going all the way over and was catchable in the end. By no means easy, but William Carnier really wishes he could get that one back. Brilliantly read. Put himself in the right position. Always tough coming away from a trailing edge grab. Sam Meehan. This is another time where he becomes very useful to you.
Let's see how much static electricity Enda can build up. And that one just shot straight to Dave Ferguson. Catches it in traffic.
Under a lot of pressure, but it comes up with nothing for them. Fletcher now in front of the end zone. Thinking about it, just moving it around ever so slightly, but a miscommunication. And all of a sudden, GB have somebody all the way downfield with nobody near them. Maybe a bit more intimate knowledge of Ranelagh, they would have taken that shot.
And injury was called, though, pretty much straight as the turnover happened. So the turnover will stand, but I think everyone's going to have to go back to the play.
It's always so frustrating when that happens and you've already done the sprinting. I'm tired. I deserve to get the reward. Great heads-up play by Sanders. Trying to take advantage of that straight away. Or Tarul, who is also number 9 but is further down my list, so for the rest of this game you'll both be Sanders. Those are the rules. Sanders puts it back into the middle. Lovely break around, and that's Tarul or potentially Sanders. And the pressure Ranelagh are able to exert is phenomenal. Really making it difficult for GB to get separation. I was impressed by GB at the start, but Ranelagh have responded in kind. That one just going a bit too high. And the nice little touch to take it away from Owen Binchy. Good defensive play, good hunger. So once again, GB on their own end zone line, wind howling. We've had a few of these kinds of points in the game, lots of turnovers, going for the big shot. Enda Kelleher able to get down, but rescued by Carnier. Brilliant heads-up play. He gets it across to Nugent.
Looks like there was an up-down call, but I think it was up.
It certainly seemed to at first glance anyway.
Enda Kelleher just kind of parrying it into the line of his counterpart.
Almost a little surprised that it was coming down so easily for him. So it's ruled up. I'd have to agree with that. We know Nugent's got a lethal flick on him. Instead goes with the easier dump. Plenty of spin. Gets the one across to Varney. People moving around Nugent. Nice little bit of juking and jiving to get free from Murphy's intentions. Nugent sends it into the open channel and all the way across, but it's a risky play and a bit of a gratuitous layout at the end of it by Varney. But you like the hustle. Great defensive bid.
And it was Aidan Kelly there, playing with the Irish mixed team this year, getting horizontal, known more for his offensive skills. Another good lefty handler, but showing his defensive prowess there.
Ranelagh really like their lefty handlers. Good break into the middle to Enda Kelleher, and he gets it to Murphy, who just bobbles it. That's the kind of break that GB need. Nugent picks it up immediately. Still starting to get high. And that one just escaping Sanders' best intentions, laying out for it, but not able to get there. Meehan to Kelleher. Seems to be using him as an initiate cutter right now. Owen Vinci fakes up the line, just takes a step back. Those long, deceptive legs of his, so difficult to read. Murphy feeds Fletcher, but it goes over him. Slight overthrow. And back down the line to Nugent. Good dump cutting. Make sure he has an option. Back to Nugent. Varney's moved to the back of the stack. Wouldn't be surprised to see him try and launch one. You can see him pointing, he wants it. But instead, just a slight overthrow on the dump pass. This is really becoming an embattled point. Much like the fourth point of the game.
And Sameen cleverly called a timeout there. I think himself and many others on the field feeling quite tired after that. Another marathon point. We've had some quick ones, but we've had some long ones as well.
I want to take a quick opportunity to thank Fulcha Ireland for their support of the tournament. They're one of our major sponsors, allowing us to bring you this full and live free coverage of the Siege of Limerick 2019. Fulcha Ireland is dedicated to promoting tourism in Ireland as well as Irish culture, really helping highlight some of the wonderful things we can do for you here in Limerick. If you're watching this stream and you're thinking, yeah, I like hailstones, I like these guys' hilarious humor, I like to see rocky mountains and trees and wonderful culture from inside a car as it rains heavily, Limerick is the place to come. We've got plenty to show you. Got a couple of castles and an awful lot of fun.
Are we in Limerick, Lorcan? Is that where we are right now?
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, we're in Limerick. Yes.
Well, you're wrong, because we're in.
Well, no, we're in the University of Limerick.
This is true. I'll give you that one.
So, I mean, it's, yeah, basically Limerick.
We're in the beautiful surroundings of County Clare, everyone. I'll have you know, once you cross the River Shannon, largest river in the British Isles in Ireland, you're in County Clare.
Best river.
Best river. It is a great river.
Oh, she's a mighty one. Really hope some days, maybe, Limerick and Clare, we could come together. Create something beautiful. It's just, you smell so bad as a county.
The county itself, yeah.
The county, well, I mean, it's mostly sheep.
It is mostly sheep. There's the Burren, which is mostly rock.
Limestone with sheep on it, and they fall into it. And then, yeah, that's probably part of the contributing to the smell.
Yeah, most sheep deaths come from the old Clinton grikes, the grikes being the gaps in between the limestone pavement.
Well, right now, Meehan tries to find the gaps in between the GB defence, gets one to Sam Murphy. That was actually Tig. And that throw just dropping. It was always going to be a tough one. There's going to be a foul call on it.
Tig Bogan, better known as Judas in these parts.
Sorry, I've never heard of that person. Tig don't think that's a real person.
You can see he's limping as he's carrying 30 pieces of silver around with him as he plays, weighing him down.
Not a man you'd ever really trust in your home or around any of your loved ones anyway. Hasn't had a girlfriend in several years. Because, you know, it's so dangerous to let him kiss you. Nugent. Going with the low break, and there's a big hook. That's a lot of speed on it. For a moment it seemed the wind had caught it and there would be an opportunity to chase it down and pick it up, but in the end drops. Good hustle by Kanye. Coming out of the East Midlands, representing Emo.
You can see that timeout had a real impact on both teams in this point.
Trying to help steady either of them. Just continuing the trend, and Samian goes for another hook. Great heads-up block by Ross Nugent. Getting big. And that's a young player who's really started to establish himself over the last few years. Noticed him in the tours last year. Really impressing. And you always wonder, like, who's going to emerge as the leaders on these young sides. Normally they would be good players on their club teams, but rarely the ones running the show. And then when they come together in national squads, who are the most impressive players? Who are the best at directing them? Nugent seems to be willing to give it to his troops, although in that case he gives it to Owen Binchy. Quick pop-up, just about gets away with that pass to Fletcher. Now Fletcher looking for options. Binchy using his body brilliantly to get that dump off. Fletcher again able to collect a risky, shall we say, Owen Binchy pass. Perhaps skeptical. And now the stall count getting higher and the wind just pushing that one down. You see that quite a lot when they go for that little pop and the handler jumps and it hits their shins.
Yeah, Owen Binchy squirreling, eventually caught out there. Maybe you just need to clear out and let someone else come in at that stage, but usually so good for the reset.
You see a little bit of dumping between Sanders and Nugent. Sorry, we've been out in the cold all day, so you're gonna have to give me that one.
And I have no idea what's going on here. They're just talking.
It's peculiar, all right. I think maybe they just wanted to have another timeout, but didn't have any left to take.
I think Ranelagh are evoking the mercy rule right here.
I don't know if it's quite time for that yet. Maybe now it is. Judas with the disc. It was good block out play on Varney by him. Swings around to Meehan and takes off himself. I like this switching by the Great British team, recognizing the threats. Fletcher trying to get away. Meehan just duking and jiving, eventually able to get off. And Kelleher goes for a big flick of his own, loads it up. Might have learned that from his brother Dara. A big battle, but banters away.
I like to point out that Enda's one flick hook was better than all of Dara's.
It really was. Well, there you go. Seems like the young replacing the old is happening even within Dara Kelleher's own family. As that one goes up, bit of foul conversation. Those situations are so difficult to like call fouls in or know if they happen when you've got 4 people under a floaty disc. It's kind of just street ultimate rules. And they seem to agree, letting it go.
See, Enda Kelleher's taken off his jacket as well.
Oh wow, things are getting serious. Well, just when we thought maybe they're getting lackadaisical, Enda Kelleher says no, it's business time. Good opening cut. GB, but still just trying to get things off. That's a wonderful break by Sanders. But that time he has to lay out to rescue possession. Missed on the first chance, gets it on the second, showing off for the fans back home. Nugent goes for the flick hook, but it was always going to be low. Smart move by Judas to slide and stop that one with his body, not letting it roll any further down the pitch.
It's not often you see the slide tackle used effectively in the sport of ultimate, but I like that one there.
One of the few instances. Meehan thinks about going for the break. Great little switch on the dump coverage, forcing the deep shot. So these GB D-line players, fairly in tune with each other. A lovely little swap between them. I thought Enda Kelleher was going to be definitely free, but in the end, brilliant reactions.
I'd like to see them doing that more effectively. We saw the GB Under-24 women's team adjusting kind of mid-game and doing their kind of switching poachy defense, because a lot of these Ranelagh players are very fast and very fit, and sometimes a switch can help you out quite a lot.
And this point continues to go on. A big layout bid, but gets nothing from it. Sam able to handle the bobble. Sends it down the line. And Murphy shoots. Bogan goes up, but can't bring it in. GB looking to get things going straight away again. Still haven't reached half. Varney with the disc centers it back into the middle. And another big huck. One that Liam Fletcher will just casually watch as it goes down towards his own end zone. This point really starting to drag on.
Fletcher did well to peel off the back of the stack there and help out Bogan, who'd made the clever switch call.
And that's another look at the fantastic layout. There's Nugent's flick huck. Boing. Unfortunate, but you see the thing is, while the layout and that drop were by two different players, because I can't tell them apart, I'm going to credit both to Sanders. Congratulations. 6-2, 55 minutes gone. We may hit half shortly. One would hope. Right now we have Castor Stewart down on the pitch, just being looked after by Liam Fletcher. It's a very nice man, as you can just see here. And he goes over, and that's a little worrying.
Fletcher actually injured him there with such a good cut. That's bad, Liam Fletcher.
Literally broke his ankles. Or certainly one of them.
That's bad spirit in my books.
He actually wasn't looking after him right there. He was mocking him down on the ground. Oh, you're going to cry now.
And now another British player has to go on Fletcher and will likely break his ankles very shortly.
Tom Davies, I hope you've got health insurance, because the NHS will not last much longer. Binchy, the cut down the line, extending his go-go gadget arms to bring it in.
Davies like a lamb to the slaughter there as Fletcher roasts him.
Delicious move, indeed. A nice little break inside, but slightly behind Enda Kelleher. Only so much he could do. Maybe you should put the coat back on.
Yeah, bring back the coat.
Hashtag bring back the coat. And that's a floaty pass, goes over an awful lot of people, and Rogers there to tap it. Bit of Mac line here on a Sunday afternoon. Who doesn't love it? Sam Murphy goes for the arcing blady flick to Fletcher, who collects it and comes down with a backpack as well. And Enda just finishing the move. The crafty Kelleher completes the catch for halftime.
Liam Fletcher, the ankle destroyer, having a fantastic first half.
I'm a huge fan of his right now, because he was able to finally bring that point and subsequently the half to a close. I want to give a quick shout out to 5 Ultimate while these highlights play. A lovely little touch from Rogers. That's the second time he's been the one to be in the right place on the defensive end of those plays. And just a nice smooth play. And you can see Kelleher. He makes the cut initially, watch the disc go over his head, and takes off before any of the GB defenders realize the call for the poach happens, or for the switch. But it never really works out.
I'm very excited to see what Enda Kelleher will be wearing in the second half, Lorcan. This is Limerick Fashion Week.
Every week is Limerick Fashion Week. We are at the cutting edge of modern trends. And of course, Enda Kelleher, a man very conscious of fashion. We will be back to you very shortly with the final half, by which I mean 10 minutes of Ultimate at Siege of Limerick X 2.0. And we are back at the business end of Siege. Ranelagh 7-2 up, taking control of this game after the hailstorm cleared. GB still very much lost in the clouds, trying to fight their way back into it. It's a big mountain to climb, and they've only got 5 minutes really to launch a big comeback. We had to move these games down because they have planes to catch. But let's see if they can impress us in the final exchanges. I'm Lorcan, I'm joined by the wonderful Liam Grant. As Chung Lee sets it up, big huck coming out of the hands of Mason, but nicely D'd up. Ranelagh can see what GB are going for, and we haven't really seen GB try to play too many unders.
No, and I can see what's coming now, and it's a big, dark, scary cloud. We've seen Ranelagh dominate when the weather gets worse, and I think a rainstorm is heading our way, Lorcan.
Well, if there wasn't one, you've definitely summoned one now, Liam. As are your crazy, witchy Claire person powers. Backwoods, dirty, smelly shit. So now Ranelagh with the disc.
Box out Berkey, cruising up to the line.
I didn't realize he handled for Ranelagh. But you know, a lot of people taking on important roles. Good physical mark. Excellent defense from Eddie Mason. Stops the move by Rogers and then slams down on the disc.
Yeah, maybe there's a reason why he doesn't usually handle for Ranelagh.
Yeah, box out. Burke, back to cutting you go. Nugent, front of the end zone. This is the opportunity to start the half off with a break. That was a nice recovery. Chung Lee saving his own blushes. Gets the flick across. Nicely spread out. GB taking their time, just swinging it around patiently. Back into the middle. Campbell, or sorry, Vaslett. Nugent stretching it along and wonderfully completed by Mason. A double happiness for him and a spark of hope for GB.
The hope is there. Some great end zone offense. We saw Chung Lee there several times fake a high release flick. And I've seen people put up the hand, you know, it's not happening. You're never going to throw it, but I do like how he's pretending to throw it.
You know, you always like that little bit of arrogance maybe, or preposterousness. Sometimes you find the mark will react just to your own sudden movements, as opposed to the intention they may reflect. 7-3. Time about to go in the next minute. But if GB wants to make this an exciting game, which obviously is what we were hoping for up in the booth, that is exactly how they do it. Keeping a few of those players on. Not on the cards. This is the GB D line. We haven't seen too much of them. it'll be interesting to see what they look like. They played that one incredibly lengthy point. And a big flick pull. Don't normally see those.
That is the highlight of the game so far for me. That was a monster flick pull, and he really ran up into that.
Yeah, it was super impressive. I want to see more from that guy. Killian Flynn on the sideline, gets it back to Sam Meehan. Long-standing teammates. Meehan down the line. Deavy takes it in. Not afraid to put up a few hucks of his own. They generally are kind of blady, but they get where they need to go. Owen Binchy using that body, getting in the way. Rogers goes down the line. Binchy tries to feed him, but it was always popping up in the air. Uncontested foul.
Yeah, I love that backhand on the flick side.
Binchy resembling a spider whenever he goes for it, spreading out those long limbs of his. Rogers. As the time goes, so it'll be finish the point and add 1. Binchy. There's a call there. Seems to be a little bit of physical contact, claiming Agbaje pushed off his defender. So, Binchy gets it down the line again to Flynn. A reliable undercutter. Not as reliable with the disc in hand. Puts that one just out of the reach of Deavy.
Yeah, but Ranelagh doing so well just to grind out open side unders there.
That's their favorite style of offense. Keep that lane free and just have one cutter after another go into it. Single them out, and there's some classic D-line offense in return. Just a big huck. Getting shut down, and the hailstorm starting to come back. So Ranelagh gonna have to put in this disc, and GB really gonna have to put in a shift if they want to fight their way back into the match. 7-3 the score. My co-commentator making a clever decision to get out of that storm. Sam Meehan centers it into the middle. Rogers has Deavy. Sees him, feeds him. Doesn't quite work.
Deavy not that hungry for that one as it bounces out of the hands. I do like seeing Freddie Rogers in the axis handler with Sam on the field. Letting him know who's boss.
As you know, the sea change that is happening in Ranelagh, but a welcome one. Progress is never the enemy. Nugent thinks about the huck, sends it, and it's a beautiful one floating. 2 GB players collected this time by, I believe, Akito Oyama from Loughborough.
That's maybe where Sam Ian struggles there. He was the last man back. Should have done more to try and put pressure on that disc, but that's not really his game.
So we see here the setup to the center, reload it back to the man with the big arm. And GB again relying on these deep shots. It's all they've had going for them for the most part. And I believe that's Oyama. Only player there with 60 anyway. So, GB able to get a big score, 2 in a row. First time in the game they've done that. 7-4. A lot of work ahead of them. It is a game 2-8. So this is Ranellagh's put it away line. And they're all out there in hoodies as well. You see Enda Kelleher back in the coat. There's the second half fashion choice we were waiting for. Dara Kelleher, brother, his brother. Killian Flynn. Think I can see Feely. The men in black earning that moniker right now. And Feely immediately going for an arching pass. Well read and snuffed out.
Going for the Hail Mary in the hill. Very appropriate.
The Hailstone Mary not quite as effective. Nugent tries to send it straight back to them. Wouldn't mind seeing a couple of unders in that position, but you can understand the intention. As that's Vaslet he was looking for. Murphy takes off and Ranelagh just send it straight back to them. Vassilid goes for the layout, looks good doing it, but misses the disc. Still does enough. I like the way Nugent is like shaking his hand, warming it up. You can feel it coming. Oh, I'm gonna flick huck this one. Probably need to move to the high side a little bit more first. Nathan Sanders in the axis position. Looking for options. This is good play by Ranelagh. A lot of talking, downfield cutters working together, taking away those unders. Gets it across to Nugent. And Murphy's going to try and sneak in and steal this one. That was brilliant team defense downfield by the Kelleher brothers, but an excellent recovery. Huge play. And that's Vassilid. That layout, he got touch on the disc. So Nugent, bit of float, it's going to be tough, goes for the greatest. Derek Kelleher makes sure he takes it down, but Sanders a bit too eager to go for it. Cleans the Dubliner out.
Yeah, thankfully he's grown his beard out. That might have protected him somewhat from the impact of that. What can be described as a hit.
Fortunately, he doesn't have a beard on his rib cage.
Call that a fair shoulder in GA as we were playing this game on a GA pitch. Although it's more resembling an ice rink right now.
Well, I mean, in ice hockey, that's a legal hit, right? Maybe Sanders getting a little bit confused himself. So I believe that's the third hailstone storm we've made it through in this game. So, Ranelagh with the disc, looking to put this game to bed. Owen Binchy goes for a break, sends it high into the air. Vassilid underneath it, wants to huck himself, decides against it. Spreads it out wide to Mason. Swings it further down the line, Phillips. Mason goes down the line for him, can't get it. Nugent's there in the middle. Ranelagh turning the clamps eventually. They're able to get it to Sanders. Sanders pops it back to Nugent. The weather picks up just a little bit. And that's a lovely low break to Vassilid down the line. There's movement in the end zone and Vassilid just puts that one too close to the ground.
They were getting great throwing with those backhand breaks into the wind. But maybe the hail just becoming too intense as this is, yes, the fourth hailstorm of the game. The fifth hailstorm brought to you by 5 Ultimate, which we'll be seeing shortly after this one.
One of our major sponsors, we want to thank them for the support. Not so much for the hailstorms. As this one going down the line, Sam Murphy with it, sends it, he's got Fletcher on the other end. Fletcher can't get onto it, it just goes a little bit too far.
Ishka water as well, made by Irish hailstorms. The hail is gathered and condensed into beautiful bottles.
It's very nutritious, that's how you get the best out of your water. God's own delivery system. There's Nugent on the line. Throws it straight into the waiting hands of Sam Murphy. Picked that off brilliantly and scores for the win. Binchy. So your Siege X 2.0 champions, Ranelagh. Congratulations, commiserations to GB under 24. Great showing, especially that fight back towards the end. That kind of attitude to really stand them strong. Here is the fateful turnover. You can see just a bit too much waiting. Sam Murphy reads the play, skips across. And then Binchy makes the immediate cut. And they get the W.
Yeah, Ranelagh put themselves back on top in Irish Ultimate. A big statement for the start of the season. Let's see where else they can go as the season goes on. A fantastic end to the tournament.
So, thank you very much for joining us here at Siege. We're brought to you free on YouTube all weekend long, thanks to the support of our major sponsors. We have Fáilte Ireland. The cold is getting to me. I've almost forgotten them. We also have the University of Limerick. We have 5 Ultimate. We have Ishka Water. We have Red Bull, Just Eat, Fulfill Protein, and of course the Bank of Ireland. I have been blessed to work with some fantastic people. Ludovik Louth, to my left. Behind the camera currently pointed at us is the big Scotsman, Danny Strasser. In the control room, Will Foster, as well as Dave Elphick. Next to me, Liam Grant. Thank you to all the commentators who helped me along. I have been Lorcan Murray, and we are getting the hell out of here. Siege is over.
I'll take your